So today I'm going to take a look at a watch that could do just about anything you would want a watch to do. Well, okay, maybe not everything, but at this price point I am not complaining. What is up everyone? I'm Jason from jb.watchmods. Welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to attempt to build the most complicated watch that I have ever tackled on this channel. Now this watch is like any other watch in that it tells you the time, but it also goes as far as to tell you the year, it tells you the month, it tells you the day, the date, whether it's nighttime, daytime. This watch can just about do it all, and I cannot wait to see how it's going to look. Now normally I'm not a dress watch kind of guy, but I couldn't resist giving this watch a crack. So let's take a quick look at the parts and jump straight into the build. So I've gone with the rose gold case, which comes in at 42mm and has a case thickness of 14mm, which is pretty good considering the complications this movement has. And it's a 3-piece case. It's also got 4 pushers on the side to operate all of the functions of this movement. It's got a lovely display back case to show off that movement and a domed mineral crystal on top. Now I've gone with the white dial with the rose gold indices to match our case, and I've applied my Bell logo on the dial. Now if you want to see how I do this, I've got a full video over on my Patreon page. Now the heart of this watch is the Seagull ST1655 automatic movement. We've got rose gold hands which should match the dial and the indices perfectly. And lastly, we've got a 21mm brown leather strap with the rose gold butterfly clasp. I think this is going to come together nicely. So all in all, the cost of this watch comes in at just over 100 Australian dollars, which for the complications this movement has, I think is an absolute bargain. But now let's see how it all goes together. So here is our movement, and it's a Seagull ST1655. Now the first thing we need to do is remove the dummy hands that are fitted to the movement. And to do this, I'll grab the small plastic bag that the movement came in and my hand removers and place that plastic bag over the dial as protection, just so I don't scratch the surface of the movement. Then I can grab my hand removing tools and gently pry those hands off. So you're probably wondering what makes this watch so complicated. So let's go over the functions of this watch. We've got a central hour, minute and second hand, a pointer date subdial at the 3 o'clock position, a day of the week subdial at the 9 o'clock position, a 24-hour subdial at the 6 o'clock position with a day and night disc behind it, and we've also got the year and month just under the 12 o'clock marker. On top of all that, it's a mechanical automatic watch with manual hand winding capabilities and a hacking seconds hand. It's absolutely crazy what's packed into this movement for such a small price tag. So I've just removed the dummy crown stem from the movement because the next step is fitting the movement into the heart of the case, which is a little bit different from builds you might have seen on my channel in the past. As you can see, this movement is fitted from the top side, which means we need to fit our dial and handset before we can fit the crystal. So with the movement in the case, I'm going to fit the crown stem just to help keep that movement in the correct position. Now this kit did not come with an extra crown stem, so that means we need to remove the crown that came on the movement and fit our own crown from the case we're using. So now we've got the crown stem back into the movement, we can get ready to fit our dial. So just to be clear, I haven't done any research on this build or movement, so what I'm doing could be incorrect. But it looks like this dial is just a press fit with the 2 dial feet on the back of the dial locating into the movement nice and firmly. So now we're ready to start fitting our handset, and I'm going to start with the pointer date subdial at the 3 o'clock position. The reason I'm starting here is because I want to be able to get the movement at exactly 12 o'clock before fitting the central handset. Once I have this pointer date hand fitted, I can then rotate the movement, and when I see that date hand change, I then know we're at exactly 12 o'clock. So now it's time to rotate this movement until we get to the 12 o'clock position. Now we can also use the 24-hour disc as a reference, which has a picture of the sun and moon on it. So once we see that moon coming around, we know we can slow down as we're about to change dates. And there it is. So now we know we're exactly at 12 o'clock on the movement. So let's fit our 24-hour subdial hand. And this is fairly straightforward, just making sure that we're lined up exactly at the 24-hour mark. So now I'm going to rotate the movement over again just to make sure that everything we've done so far is in sync. And you can see when that hand gets to the 12-hour mark, the sunshine disc on the dial is in the correct position. And the date at 3 o'clock flicked over when we're back at the 24-hour marker. So now let's fit our day hand. Now it doesn't matter what day we line this hand up to, as long as we line it up directly in the center of what we're going for. In this case, I'm lining it up to 12 o'clock. So again, let's rotate the movement and double check everything that we've done is in sync. So similar to an NH36 movement, the day on these movements always flicks over a couple of hours after 12 o'clock. And it looks like we are spot on in this case. So I'll quickly rotate it back to 12 o'clock and then we can fit our central handset. So now I would almost say the hardest part is behind us. All of our small subdial hands are fitted and in sync. So now it's almost like we're building an NH35, just our three basic hands, our hour, minute and second hand. So just in case you didn't know, that green thing I'm using to hold the hand is called Rotico. It's made for jewelers and it's basically like blue tack. It's great for doing this kind of work because it doesn't leave any smudges or marks on the hands. And it's also good for cleaning things like smudges if you do find any. So now that I've got my hour hand and minute hand fitted, I'm going to rotate that movement over just to make sure that everything is still in sync and that the hour hand and minute hand clear all our indices and subdial hands. And everything is looking spot on, so let's fit our last hand, which is going to be the second hand. So now when I push the crown in, hopefully that second hand will start ticking over. Just like that. Perfect. The last thing we need to do now is to make sure that we have the appropriate clearances so that nothing fouls on each other. And here we'll just test that the year and day feature are working as they should by pressing the two buttons on the side of the case. And here you can see the year turning over and same with the day. So now let's grab our crystal and get ready to fit it to the case, which will sandwich in our dial and movement. There's a small rubber O-ring fitted to this crystal, so I'm going to remove it first and just lubricate it before fitting it to the case. Once we get that O-ring fitted back on, it's time to clean our crystal and get it absolutely spotless. Now, this is actually a really important step on this watch because we can't remove this crystal easily once it's fitted. So we need to make sure we get it perfectly clean the first time, because the last thing we want is any smudges or dust under that crystal once it's been pressed onto the case. Now, the reason I say we can't remove this crystal easily once it's fitted is because it's a press fit. So let's grab our press and make this fitment final. And here we can see the moment that the crystal pops into place. Nice and easily. Now, once that crystal is pressed in, I like to back the pressure off and rotate the case 180 degrees and reapply pressure. This way I know that the crystal is pressed in nice and evenly all the way around. And if you don't have a good crystal press, you can do this in 90-degree segments just to make sure that everything is spot on. Okay, so now that our crystal is pressed in, you can see that there are no gaps between the crystal and the case and that it's sitting evenly right the way around. So our next step is cutting our crown stem to the correct length. And it looks like we need to remove about 5mm to get that crown sitting flush against the case. So first, let's remove the crown stem from the case. To do this, we make sure that the crown is pushed all the way in and then depress this small button on the back of the case while pulling out the crown stem. Now we'll unscrew our crown and cut around 5mm off the crown stem. Once I make that cut, I always grab my Dremel and file off the end of the thread just to make sure that it's nice and clean and doesn't damage any threads inside of the crown. Now we can screw our crown back on and test fit it into the case. And it still looks like we're a few millimeters too long. Now, I was being extra cautious when I did the first cut because I don't have any spare crown stems. So if I do cut this one too short, it means that this watch is stuck on the bench for another 2 to 3 weeks while I wait for a replacement to arrive. So we'll repeat the same process and cut a few mil off this crown stem. But this time I'm feeling pretty confident, so I'm going to add some Loctite to the threads before adding the crown stem. The Loctite's just there to stop that crown stem coming loose unintentionally. And if you do add Loctite to your threads, make sure you wipe any excess off before fitting it back into your movement. And it's time to refit this crown stem for what is hopefully the last time. And it looks like we've nailed the length. The crown sits flush against the case and we can easily pull out the crown to reach all positions. So now we can move on to sealing this case up by fitting the case back. And like the crystal we fitted earlier, there's a small O-ring on the case back which we'll lubricate before screwing this case back on. Now that we've got that O-ring fitted, we'll give this case back a good cleaning, making sure that there's no fingerprints, smudges or dust under that crystal. And once we're happy that everything is spotless, we can fit our case back to the case. Now this one is a little bit different to that top crystal as this one is a screwed down case back. So we'll pop our case back in place, screw it down and seal this watch up. Now for a movement that cost around 40 Australian dollars, I must say that this thing looks pretty good. The finishing actually looks really nice and it looks pretty special in this case, I must admit. Now we'll lock this case up, making sure to tighten the screws in a star-shaped pattern just to pull this case back down nice and evenly. Now we are on the home stretch, so let's remove these spring bars and get our leather straps fitted to this case. I cannot wait to see how this thing is going to look. I'm really happy with the colour of these straps. I think that brown leather should complement the rose gold case and white dial perfectly. Now, I've never really been a dress watch kind of guy, so I'm really curious to see how I feel about this one once it's completed. So let's run some B-roll and see how this watch really looks. And that is gonna do it for today's video. What do you guys think of this build? In the end, it actually wasn't that hard to build. Yes, this watch has a lot of complications, but putting it together was fairly straightforward. And I have actually fallen in love with the way this watch looks. Now, I said at the start I wasn't a big dress watch guy, but I think this watch is definitely converting me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you've liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video.